There we go. How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. I'm hoping we get some good repeats and some new people tonight. There was a link issue, so I hope everyone was able to register and get on. Happy Thursday. I'm doing this from a leaned back status today. The fall has captured me. I am feeling a little under the weather, but we're gonna power through. How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, I didn't start the chat. I know better. Let me get in there. Open this up. Welcome, welcome to everybody who's inside. Excited to have everybody. Okay, I think we're all good. While we're waiting for people to jump on, I'll give a couple minutes because I started a little. Hi, Angelique. I am going to grab the Facebook group so everybody has that as well. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, we have a Facebook group. It's where the episodes get posted. I'll be honest with you though, the last 3 aren't in there, and it's because I didn't load them correctly. So who helps me wasn't able to load them in. You're new here. Well, welcome. Lawrenceville, Georgia. So I don't know. No, hilariously. My company is based in Georgia, but I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm not sure where is Lawrenceville, like locationally. Hi, Jasmine. Good evening. 30 minutes from Atlanta. Beautiful. So our headquarters is in Roswell, which is about 45 minutes from Atlanta, right? So love that. All right, let me get, so if you're new, I've been your favorite kid. If you're new on the Facebook group, I'll share old episodes. If I talk about books, I like to post them in there. It's also a space where if you want to ask questions, you're more than welcome to. But nobody's really vocal yet, but we have a good amount of people in there. So I would love to have more people be a bit more vocal. But it is where episodes get posted, and it is where you can see what's coming the following week. So I'm just posting that in there. You can ask to be a member. I approve them all. So please feel free to jump in there. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. That screen is so bright. So I hope everyone's enjoying the evening. It was actually quite a nice day here. I hope if anybody is Florida based or the other states that were affected with everything going on, one, you're a trooper for being here. I hope everyone's doing okay. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for weather. I feel like I haven't seen one like this in a minute. Oh, I'm trying to scoot a little closer. There we go. So hope everyone's doing well tonight. Seems like everything's settled down. Weather's not bad here in northeastern Pennsylvania, but ooh, it is cold. Oh, I am freezing today. I'm in a blanket sweater. I got a blanket on my legs. I'll be honest. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started, or at the very least, start to introduce myself. And as more people jump on, they can jump in at any point. But because I know you already mentioned that we have somebody that's new here, I want to make sure everyone's aware of who I am, what I do, why we're doing this, all the good things. So first things first, my name is Laura DeVega. I am the Director of Agency Development at World Via Travel Group. We are a World Via Travel Network. We are a host agency. But I do this completely separate from all that. So I do this because I started in the industry going into year 14, on year 13, heading towards 14, as a travel advisor, like all of you. And I loved every minute of it. I worked in that space for a while, then owned my own agency for a while, then at one point moved into the supplier space and worked on the business development team for a larger supplier, and then went on to run that business development team. So what is lovely before I got to where I am now, and what's lovely about all of that is that I have seen this industry from every angle. So I've sat in your seats and had your struggles. I've been an owner and had those struggles. I have been on the supplier side and seen the struggles come in and how to fix those and what happens on the supplier end and what the suppliers can do to be better for you, all the things. So, and what I've noticed, and when I had my own agency, I felt this way as well. I have a coworker who's really passionate about things like this as well. I've noticed my conversations when I worked from the supplier and so many people that just didn't have development courses like this that are just based on developing yourself and developing your agency, making it better, being bigger, better, best. You'll hear me say a lot. It's really important that you're always kind of looking in on yourself and being self-reflective and taking a moment and working on your business, not in your business. And that can be incredibly difficult at times. Please know that I know that. And that's why I wanted to create this space. I do it every Thursday evening. We get together, we talk about different topics. And all the topics leading into tonight kind of led into tonight, like lended a hand to it. This one's more of an offshoot one, but it's a good one. Something I'm really passionate about because it's what I'm doing in the moment. And you'll see in a moment. But we talked about a lot of things. We've talked about goals and how to set goals for your business. And that was a mid-year one too. So that was right in the middle of the summer when we started this. Start with goals and how to set them. And I'm a big believer that you write them down every day and that's how you make them happen. We got into habits and how creating habits can help you get to your goals. We've talked through financial strategy and kind of how you look at that for your business if you've never done it before and different tools you could use to be better. We also have spoken about, oh my goodness, so many things, the effects of bad leadership and how to lead yourself and lead your business and other individuals. We have talked about a whole bunch of topics that all kind of pile in together to professional and personal development. So it's always important to be better. Tonight, what we're getting into is like optimizing and obtaining training and like how to do that properly. And that's not just on the level. Now, this is definitely one of the courses or classes, I should say, not course, that are more focused on if you have ICs or employees, but doesn't need to sit in that space because I'm going to talk around it in the sense of if you were to have employees, what that should look like for you when you start to grow and scale your business, and also just how to approach training yourself as an individual. I am clearly insanely passionate about training because I do it for free Thursday nights just because I enjoy speaking with all of you. And I think it's really important, like I said, to always be growing on yourself. And so taking the time to learn more about training, to train yourself better, to get better training is really, really crucial for the growth of your business and for you to be a good leader. If you want to grow that business, there's just so many really crucial, important pieces to it. So I wanted to at least take 1 week. I will tell you, we're getting into other things, we're getting into marketing strategies and stuff like that in the coming weeks, but I wanted to take 1 week and just talk about training. I say you work on your business, not or work in your business. Oh my goodness, work on in. I'm kind of doing that little sense of I'm talking to you about training while I'm training, but it is important. So I'm going to pop the presentation up, but I'm going to do it so you can see me as well while I'm doing it. Not too much. I keep the presentations pretty basic, but I like to talk through it all. If you have any questions, please, please, please pop it in the chat. It makes it so much more interesting for me when I can have a conversation as we're doing this, because otherwise, I can talk, but you might not want to be listening to me the whole time, and I wouldn't blame you. So let me just set this back up so I can also see you because I like to see the chat and everything coming through. So I went also, because I didn't do it. So if you were here last week, I talked about how I try to wear something spooky every day through spooky season. I didn't today because I already told you I'm feeling a little under the weather today and I forgot, so I feel bad. But I did bring a spooky themed presentation, just the Halloween season. I thought it'd be fun to change it up a bit tonight. And I think I do this for the following weeks as well until the holiday. But so training, how to properly plan it and make the most of it, because that's what it is, right? It's not, and this isn't you planning to teach this training. This is putting yourself in it can be, but this is also putting yourself and your employees and your ICs in the position to learn proper training. And it's also you as an individual putting yourself to find proper training, right? So that can be really difficult. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of information that flies around. I always make the joke that travel is the only business that I could be in it in the teens of years. And still every time I'm booking a trip with someone, like separate than myself, they think they know more about it than I do. And I'm like, this is what I do. But people think they know it. So it's like difficult. There's a lot of things that fly around. Also, travel is so ever changing and never stops evolving. It never stops getting different. We're developing different technologies and things. So it's really to grasp it all is hard. So you have to keep actively training yourself and training your team so that you're on top of things and you're moving and you're grooving with the way that things are going. So it's really important that you're training yourself and keeping your business trained. And also it keeps some like stability to your business, because if they're invested in themselves, they're gonna be invested in your business, and it's going to help your business grow, which at the end of the day is what's the most important part. As much as we all love travel, and we do, we also like to make money, right? That's the point. So I apologize if you can hear the yelling in the background. I try to avoid it at all costs, but I have two small children and sometimes they just don't want to hear it at 7 o'clock at night. So let's get into the importance of training, right? And I kind of already talked about this, but I want to talk about each of these a little bit more extensively. And excuse me, I could take a sip of water here. First things first, there's a ton of benefits. So it creates loads of consistency and a standardization to your business. And that isn't just if you own a business and have ICs, that's also for you individually. When you are trained on a topic, you are consistent because you know exactly what you should be talking about it. You know exactly what's new or different about, say, a hotel property or a cruise line. You also know everything that the client should know upon arrival. But also, if you do have ICs or employees, if everybody is trained up, you know that they're getting a consistent answer. So God forbid something happens and what an employer and IC has to help you with something, you know they're not going to give out different answers than you might have given because they're trained up and they understand what's going on. It also just provides consistency in the quality of delivery, because when somebody has a confidence in what they're speaking about, they're going to deliver better service. That's as simple as whether they're selling hamburgers or they're selling travel. If they're confident in what they're doing, they're going to be, if they're confident in the knowledge, they're going to appear confident, and that's going to put a confidence, not to use that word so many times, but in the client. And that's so important because we are not selling hamburgers. People are buying thousands of dollars worth of vacations. So they're going to want to buy from someone that appears confident and knows what they're talking about. So giving them training really helps to build that confidence, especially in a new advisor, especially if you do it yourself. If you're not confident in something, if you start to sit in the training, you're going to feel comfortable. You're going to be consistent. It's really what's the best for you in your business. Increased efficiency. So I list this because it's kind of a no-brainer, right? Things should be easier if you're trained up, but also just the reality is you have to think less. I talk about decision fatigue a lot, and it's a really interesting idea that I had not even heard of probably till about a year ago, but it's taking the questions and the guessing out of things when you're doing it. And this is just on your regular day to day. I talked about this about a bit in the habit session, but also when you could do it in your business, when you take questions out of your day and having to put a question into a place of, an area where it wasn't before, or where it was before, it clears up your schedule one. So that just makes you more efficient, but also not having to ask those questions. It just puts you in a position where if somebody calls, me and my husband, we want to go to cruise, and this is it should be a no-brainer, but we want to go to cruise. We don't want to be around kids. We like we want upscale dining. You having the knowledge to go, oh, you absolutely are going to love Virgin Voyages. Let me tell you a little bit more about that product and why you might love it. That makes your time so much more efficient because you're not digging around, trying to figure out what it is, because you have the answers locked and loaded. That being said, also, training helps you ask better qualifying questions, because not every person is going to walk in your door or get on the phone with you or come through the email with that exact description that I just laid out there, because that was a little bit of like a softball, right? More often than not, don't we know, it's I want to go somewhere warm. And when you're first starting out, or when your ICs or employees are just starting out, warm is a million different places. Warm could be down the street tomorrow. So having the knowledge to ask the right qualifying questions by having a good understanding of product can help efficiency worlds. It'll make all the conversations quicker. It makes, again, the decision fatigue a little bit easier because they'll know the next question to ask properly, and you'll know the next question to ask properly. It helps so much in that area. Also enhance performance, again, kind of all hand in hand. When you appear confident, when you are delivering the correct information and delivering accurate information, and again, with a confidence, you're going to see that your clients are going to have be comfortable with you to book and be spending their money with you. And they're going to go, okay, yep. And you're going to see this increase in your performance. You're going to see, oh, they started a book, and then they send a referral and they come to book because they feel good spending it with you. And I do believe a lot of that also ties back to relationship building and making sure you're building those relationships with your clients, because when they're confident, you're going to see your performance blow out of the water. But again, building relationships is also something you learn more in the training process, how to do that, how to properly service your clients so they want to build a relationship with you. They want to learn more about you, things like that. So another thing is employee and IC self-confidence. I've kind of already talked about this directly as we've gone through this whole process, but just to kind of trigger back to it. I'll never forget how uncomfortable I was when I first started in travel, especially because a little bit behind the scenes, I had never traveled out of the country when I first started. So I was just on a wing and a prayer and hoping for the best. Something that helped build my confidence and made things a lot easier for me was training. So I absorbed myself in training. I learned everything I could about every different destination. I would go on FAMs, I would do other things, but because it built my confidence. But if you, as a leader, and are bringing on ICs and employees, are instilling in them that they should be training, they should be encouraging them to go to training, incentivize them. I talk about that a little bit later, to go to training. They're going to want to do it. They're going to feel good about doing it. And then they're going to feel good selling, because I have had those moments where you're sitting and you're not confident in what you're selling and you're just guessing, and it's very uncomfortable. I will say people are luckier today in the sense that makes me sound like I'm ancient, but I'm not. I started in a storefront. People would come in, and if I didn't know, I had to make it up by the seat of my pants right in the moment. Whereas I think we're a much more internet-based world now, so it's a little bit different. So you have some time to look and research, but if they have the confidence to start because they've been trained up in destinations that they want to be selling, they're gonna feel good and it's gonna be easier for them. And then improved compliance and risk management. I need a sip of water for this one. This is huge. Your room for error, when you are trained well, when your employees are trained well, your ICs are trained well, is slim. It gets slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. When you're out there guessing and hoping for the best, you have so much room for error. And that is when compliance issues come into place and so much risk. Because I use this example because it actually happened before. To me, I had to switch a flight. And I tried to switch that flight, and I said, oh, I'm going to Melbourne, Florida. The girl didn't hear me, just kept typing away, click, 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 put in Melbourne, Australia. And she goes, your ticket will be an additional $1,800. And I was like, what did you just say? Because if I had booked that and not paid attention, or if it was the opposite, whatever it may be, someone was trying to go to Melbourne, Australia, and they booked a Melbourne, Florida ticket because they thought it was a great deal. And they'd be highly disappointed when they were just on the space coast of Florida and not looking for koala bears, right? So not knowing and not being comfortable in what you're selling and not being well trained up in certain areas puts you in a position where you're at a high risk for issues like that, and put your ICs and employees at a high risk. You don't want to have your business operating like that by the guessing and all that. Now, listen, you can't know everything at once. There's too much to know, but it is a habit that you can put for yourself, for your employees, your ICs. Say, hey, only sell what you know to start. So say if they only know Disney, just sell that for right now. So it's comfortable. And then if you want to learn something on the back end while you're doing that and then branch out, go right ahead. They only know cruises. Great. Just sell cruises for right now. And then you can kind of shift and adjust and go through. Because as they have that confidence, like I said, it lowers that risk, and risk can be so expensive. And when you're first starting out, the last thing you want is a big hefty bill because of something going to happen on accident, which is why I always say get E&O, but just, insurance, but still just things to keep in mind. And of course, like I said, compliance. When they're trained and they know what is proper compliance for your business, it removes all that risk as well, as far as, are they sending your payments through a PCI compliant credit card service? Are they sending over insurance risk waivers? Are they sending credit card authorization waivers, which you should be doing? Some people don't, but you absolutely should. But anyway, there's things to think about to cover your butt So you're not in trouble, even for yourself or for your employees or ICs. Ooh, that one got bright. This is more benefits. So still talking about the importance of training and why so crucial for you and your employees. I put in, what, my goodness, I put improved compliance and risk management twice. My apologies. Clear growth path. So when they see what's available to them to learn more, or even yourself, when you see what, as you learn more, where the direct path you can go in one direction, other could be, you're going to set that growth path for yourself. Like I said, I'm big about setting goals and stepping things into certain places. When you have it all mapped out because you've sat in the training, you've learned what other people have done who have gone down similar roads as you can set it out a lot clearer, and you're much more motivated to get to those spaces, you yourself or an IC or an employee. So it gives you that ability to create that path, know where to go next, know what your next step is, because maybe for you, it's learning cruise, let's just say ocean cruising right now. So you don't know that. I know this is hypothetical. But you want to be a master at Alma River cruises. You start small so that you learn this product, you learn how to get there. Then you get on the next cruise, you learn the onboarding processes where you learn it inside and out. Then you move on to the next thing. It shows you a path to get to where you want to go by knowing what makes the most sense to go next. Increased engagement and motivation. So this, again, I feel like I'm a little repetitive on this, but it's for good reason. When you are confident and trained up, you are more engaged in the conversations you're having because you're more comfortable. You want to be talking about it. You want to be teaching them, the person that you're selling to. You want to get them excited about it. So that they're just going to be so engaged from point one, or like point A to point B, and all the way through the end, if they're trained well and if you're trained well. And you're going to feel more motivated to book more if you feel confident in what you're selling. So you do that by going to the trainings, by getting down and dirty, learning it, whether it's printables, whatever it may be, however you're choosing to train and learn, that is going to give you that confidence and motivation to keep booking and getting bigger and better. And then last, of course, scalability. I don't know what the goals for your business are, but I'm a true believer that you should always make your business scalable. Whether that is just by getting your first employee, getting your fifth employee, getting a storefront, whatever it may be, becoming a mini host yourself, whatever it may be. But scalability comes truly, you cannot be scalable and get yourself into a bigger place until you have proper processes in place. And a great way to start with that is setting training standards for your employees and yourself. So knowing that training is required and development is encouraged will put you in a position where it's easily scalable, because there's a set routine that everyone knows that they go through this process as far as onboarding with you. They know that this is the standard that everybody else went through, and it makes growing your business so much easier. So, didn't click. There we go. So I'm making it seem like, oh, there's all the benefits, everything's great. There's not challenges with training, right? There's a few things specifically set to travel. Regulatory changes. So for a really great example, I think just this week we found out that Mexico is finally enforcing the Vista tax when you go to Mexico. So Cancun airport, whatever, maybe you fly in for the years now. I remember this for years. So like, you have to pay the Vista tax. You have to pay the Vista tax. Some people did, some people didn't. Nobody ever checked. It was kind of all over the place. It's hard to know what like rules and regulations are in a destination you're going to if it's never set into place. It just changed this week that you do have to pay it, and they're starting to enforce it. Now, a regulatory change like that, and knowing that that happened, and making sure your training the training that your client, your ICs or employees are absorbing up to date is incredibly important. Because if they're saying, "Oh, don't worry about it," your client gets there, they're going to run into a bunch of issues when they get to the Cancun airport. Or even like, I'm just using, I don't mean to pick on Mexico tonight, but even like the 2-device thing. I don't know if if you're familiar with this, if you're not, but like that you can't bring 2 personal devices per person. So if there's a mom, because I know this could be me at times, and I need to bring my iPad to occupy my kids plus my computer or whatever it may be, I have to make sure it's sourced out correctly. Like having that knowledge and being up to date with that really proposes challenges because you don't know all the destinations in and out. Naturally, you have to actively choose to train and be up to date on what's going on in those destinations to be able to train properly. And of course, the evolving customer expectation. So I think we've seen this in the last few years. And it's also just culturally, the United States, we travel at a different standard than a lot of other countries. And it's interesting because the wholesaler I worked for was very big in other countries in the Europe and the Australian market. And they would sell, like, for example, hotels that are like 2-star in Thailand. And they'd be fine with that. No American would do that. Or they even, for example, we wouldn't sell anything less than 4 and 5-star hotels in our system that we had in Paris and London, because it was just a different standard to what Americans are used to traveling and to what the rest of the world is used to traveling. And that's not a dig on Americans or the vice versa. It's just more, it's different understandings of expectations. I also think in the last few years, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, people's expectations of what they want change. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would have to elect in for room service at most hotels I go to now, I would have been like, what? What are you talking about? But actually, I'm one of the people that kind of like it. I don't need somebody in my room all the time. But again, customer expectations are always changing, what they want, what they don't want, what they need to be aware of. So that's something that's our job, just to know what is changing, but also just knowing what the different properties are doing, being up to date on the trends and things. I highly, highly recommend, just relevant to both of these things. If you don't subscribe to Travel Trades, please, please do so, whether it's just Travel Weekly or Insider Travel Report or any of the travel trades where they're going to talk about what's going on in the industry so you're up to date. I know we all get overwhelmed by emails, but even a quick browse through, you'll catch things like that. I also recommend you join different travel advisor groups because a lot of this conversation is happening in travel advisor groups. So you keep yourself up to date so you can keep your ICs and employees up to date as well. And then last but of course not least, technology shifts. Now, I'm a true believer that the travel world, I don't know what we did or who karmically we upset, but we are about 10 steps behind technology wise in most systems. And if any of you are GDS users, you understand what I mean. But I think that there is some really excellent technology coming out currently, and we're working a lot with AI, and there's a lot going on that. There is still a lot of shifting happening. I feel like we're finally getting to a better place with all of it, and people are working really hard to make systems make sense. But knowing about it all is difficult. So, and knowing about it to train on it is difficult because it's out of our realm. We want to know about travel. We want to know where to go, what to do, what to see. So this is just another page you have to add into that book. So it's something you have to keep in mind, and it can add a challenge when you're trying to train. So just keep that in mind also. So now let's talk about some strategies for effective training. When I made these slides, I didn't think the light was going to be so jarring. I love them. So, couple things. Tailored learning. Now, I am a big believer in customized training programs, whether you outsource these, where you go to a company that provides them. There's many excellent companies that provide, the Travel Institute is one of them, that provide different training programs to learn about different things. The Wonderless CEO company has a great training program if you're just starting out. There's all different things for more specific training programs, but also there's also some offshoots coming out as well. I know there is individuals that train on just Mexico now. They train on just specific destinations. There's also the DMCs and all the different destinations generally have training programs. There's also, of course, suppliers. There's a million different training programs. But what I would say is you're trying to set a standard for learning within your agency for yourself or for your ICs or employees, is look at the different roles that everyone plays. And that can mean different things. If you just have a shop manager of sorts, they're not going to need the training that everybody else needs. But more so in like, what do they really sell? What level are they at? How long have they been in the industry? What are they trying to learn? So making sure you're sending them to trainings that make sense for them, so they're not gonna be bored, so they're engaged, so they're motivated to be there, things like that. Also, of course, you can send them to specific destination training. I know there's still a lot of the JCB, like Jamaica Tourism, or JTB, Jamaica Tourism Board, still does destination specific training. You'll see a lot of Europe specific trainings out there. Getting into the different specifics, if you know, and I have it down further, but just talk about like a niche that you're kind of getting into, or your advisors are getting into, send them in that direction. They want to learn what they want to sell, what they want to know about, they want to learn that. It's very easy, and it's nobody's fault. Sometimes trainings are kind of all over the place, and it's difficult to like zero in on your niche. So if you see that, I highly recommend you get involved in that kind of training and send your advisors to that, because they're going to be more engaged. Also, something I'm going to talk about that is brought up on, one of them was brought up in a training with me recently. Also, I just don't think it is nearly talked about enough: sales training and finance training. I am telling you, there's not nearly enough of this nearly enough of it in this industry. And that is from someone who's been in it a long time, and I try to train on it, but I'm only one person. I know a few other people to train on it, but many people come into travel as a change of life. Like, this wasn't where they were set to go. They came here later. So they might not have been a salesperson. And that's okay, because we're a really story-driven sales position. So it's not like the same as selling a car or selling insurance. But you do need some sales training to get over objections, to ask for that credit card. Sometimes that's so difficult. And if your advisors or your agents that work under you don't have that kind of training, they're not going to have the confidence to be better. So if you see a sales training, I highly recommend you let them know about it, or even do it yourself. I still go to sales trainings, and I have been in sales for a very long time. I still read sales books and I've been in it for a very long time. There's always something new to learn. And another big thing is finance training. During the pandemic, we learned that most advisors had no financial plan for their business. I will stand on every soapbox to say, please have a financial plan for your business. Your business is a real business. Take a minute to figure that out. And I know sometimes, especially when people are first starting out, I don't have the money for that. I can't do that. I get it. So take those baby steps. Maybe that's a goal you make for yourself. Get yourself trained up on it, and then make sure your advisors are too, so they have the same mindset that you do going into finances and how you're building your business and growing your business. It's really, really important. And then just development in general. Like, this is technically tonight is just a development class, but it's just, again, bigger, better, best. I say it often, but I really mean it. Oh, and then I look at that, I even put it there, continuous development. So again, ongoing training versus one-time onboarding. So this is people will argue this in different ways, but what I will say is a one-time onboarding has a lot of value. And I think you should have a proper onboarding procedure for your new employees and ICs. It's going to take a minute to build, but I think it's crucial. And whether that's just like, hey, you talk them through the basics of your business, and they say, hey, I would start on these 3 vendors first, and then have another 3 to send them to. Just having a proper process in place is good. But having consistent ongoing training with them is incredibly important. I know a agency owner who she sets monthly check-in calls and then monthly training calls. They're not the same day, not the same time. And on that training call, they learn something new every single time. So she onboards them, and then at least once a month, she knows that they're getting trained by her. Also, as far as ongoing training goes, make sure that your advisors or ICs and employees know about trainings if you're part of a consortia, because a lot of time that expands out past you. So please make sure they're taking advantage of that as well. But again, for consistent ongoing training, it's very difficult. People think they get really trained up well in the beginning and they're fine and good to go. We used to make a joke about there used to be sacred cow, is what we called them, advisors that worked in the agency that I started in. They didn't want to learn anything new. And eventually they started to stall out, because we are a constantly evolving industry, and it's so important to keep educating yourself and making sure your advisors are educated. So it's not really a versus in a sense of like look at one over the other, but I highly say I would do both, to be honest. Ensuring skills stay relevant as the industry evolves. We kind of talked about that with things that you can't control in the last one, but you can lose your idea of what's happening in this industry very, very quickly. If you're not investing in looking at the trades and educating yourself and knowing what's going on, before you know it, I use this example often, but it's true. The hotel I got married at 10 years ago is a dump now. It was gorgeous when I got married there. If I wasn't paying attention, I would still send people there because I had a lovely experience there. So making sure you're staying relevant, and that's skills beyond, that's sales skills as well. That is also how to market themselves and marketing skills and what they can do in that space. That, you know, the world is getting so much easier to just self-market and market for almost for free. They have to be ambitious to get it all out there, but there's so much that can be done. That if you put yourself out to learn more about it, you can develop skills. And there's a lot of free courses out there from colleges and different areas that will just teach you skills separate from travel that are business skills that you can take and build your business. And any advisor you have under you is going to want to learn those skills as well, even if they don't think they want a business right now, and you don't necessarily want to lose them either. But it is going to put them in a position where they are going to understand, like, to treat themselves as a little business, and they're going to care about your business more. Okay. It's a lot of talk on this one, so we're going to go through it pretty quickly. But another way, when you're looking at the different trainings that you could be doing with your advisors and for yourself, look at skills gaps, see where you're missing things. And I dare say, you know, if it's employees, conduct some evaluation, see, hey, what do you know? What do you not know? And if it's, you're not in an employee-based situation, if it's ICs, you know, ask them, what are you not comfortable with? What scares you? What do you want to book but you're afraid of? That's a good way to get an idea of that, or do that with yourself. Just look through destinations that you're interested in. You're like, do I know this enough to sell it? And so that's a good place to start, of where to start. Maybe like, hey, I do this training first. So, oh, look at that. I have a note on the top. I'll always call myself out when I do some. I apparently lost some text up on the top of that slide. It was the text from the assessing skill gaps, just got lost in the top there. Incentivize learning. I think this is a big deal. This is even if it's just for yourself, but make certifications that go along with things if they don't have it. Recognize when they complete a training class or a skills-based class that they do. Treat them to a cup of coffee if they do a really difficult one. There's some of those that are out there. I think it's the Australian Tourism Board that is like weeks long. Like, treat them, or treat yourself. Let's be clear. Get yourself that coffee when you complete the long certification. They're long, take up a lot of your time. Time is worth money. Make sure you're treating yourself. But also, and try to tie them to different milestones in training. You can do this in different ways. You can do this by saying, like, oh, you're a senior advisor, you're a certain level advisor, whatever you want to do, whatever makes the most sense. You can tie different names to the different levels, but giving them something to work towards is incredibly important. Interactive and engaging formats. So this is a big deal. This has come up a lot. I was just at a huge event a few weeks ago. We kind of talked about this. We are in a digital world. And yes, I always say in-person training first. That's the best way to get the most information and really immerse yourself in it. But I'm also a realist. We all have, so many people have other jobs, they have things going on. They can't always just immerse themselves like that. And making sure the content they're taking in is engaging is very important. I've seen a lot of training out there where it's just text on the screen, kind of like what my slide is, but they're not interacting like this. And it's just not exciting. It's not fun. And there is statistics shown to, if you make it, it's called gamification, and you're putting things that are interactive into your trainings and asking questions and making it like they can earn scores and like level up and things like that as they go through the course, people are more than likely to finish it because it excites them. It's like a dopamine hit. They get excited to finish it. So look for things that are a bit more interactive. There's some really great companies that are making they have some amazing learning management systems that they kind of build this in, that you can kind of click through and learn more, and look for ones where there's videos and then text, and then there might be a live session. So things that are more interactive, so they're going to retain it more when they take it in different ways like that. And just keeping it dynamic and fun. Ongoing support and mentorship. So this is something that is not necessarily training based, but it was going to help with the training, is going to show you where other trainings are too. So I'm a big believer in finding yourself a mentor, whether that's a friend, another advisor, with somebody in your office, but finding those people that are going to help you through when times are tough or you have questions, because it's really diminishing when you don't have somebody to ask a stupid question to. And I say stupid very intentionally. People are, oh, there's no stupid questions. Sometimes there is, and that's okay. You should be able to ask stupid questions and have someone you're comfortable asking that question to. So that might be someone in your office. It should be you if you're their leader, but also putting them in a space where they're maybe on a Facebook group of, advisors that are at the same level as them, or just advisors in general. There's a lot of great Facebook groups out there, whether you're selling specific content that you get involved in. And I know Facebook is kind of, how much it gets used or whatnot is one thing, but it is a good space for collective minds and for brain dumping information. So look into that and see what is available to them, or just groups. If you're in a consortia, I know a lot of different consortias and host agencies have their own groups within their company. So look into see what's available to you and your advisors. And then cooperative learning environments. And what I mean by that is let people ask stupid questions. Be willing to help them get to the answers. Be willing to make it a comfortable environment for them to learn in, because then they're going to want to learn more. So some more strategies and things that you can kind of go about to do this. I put learning management systems. I just look there. A lot of people say just LMS to shorten it. Make sure the learning management systems you're sending them to, or the organizations, have training materials. I can't talk today, guys. I'm so sorry. Really, I'm getting through it, feeling well, but I am stumbling. Make sure they have training materials attached, whether that's printouts or things they can work on in that sense. Study guides with downloadable content that they can take, whether it's, a list of certain hotels in a different destination, or what hotels have accessible options, things like that. Make sure there's progress trackers so they can see exactly, again, gamification, so they can see how far they're doing. Make sure there's certificates at the end, so it was worth it for them. And that they can also, so you can see reporting and they can see reporting of how they're doing and how, if they could be better. A lot of them are scored, so you can see exactly where you hit with it. Some do this better than others, right? Like, to call one out in particular that does it pretty well, and not that anyone would necessarily be to that level, but like Disney, like they gamify the heck out of theirs. You have to watch certain videos, you have to take a quiz, you have the, there's different things. They used to, I remember they used to be more like game-based, really game-based back in the day when I took it many years ago. But there's a lot that you can do and different systems do to make sure it's easier to learn. So think about that when they're doing their learning. Also, video tutorials and webinars. I talked about it, I didn't really talk too much about in-person training, because yes, I'm always 100% in-person training first, but I also like to be mindful. You guys know, if this isn't your first time, I never want to put you in a position where you have to be adding too much cost into anything you're doing, because I know a lot of people are just starting out, or, I never want to assume anyone's situation. So there's a lot of video tutorials and webinars out there that are accessible for free or to minimal cost that you can watch. I recommend make sure it's practical and relevant to what you're trying to learn and what you're trying to sell. But there is so much out there that you can take in. Make sure though that they are engaging. Make sure they're talking through things I listed here, like video tutorials. Make sure you're having them watch exactly how to book a booking, say with Royal Caribbean. I know that sounds so simple when you're experienced. That's not always the easiest thing. How do I book a Globus booking? How do I do this? You want to make sure that they have ideas of that. And if it's not in these sessions, make sure you're doing that with them, having them on with them so they can learn. Of course, recorded webinars. I think something is very interesting, because I do a lot of webinars. People like to sign up and they don't show up, and that's fine. People are busy. I get it. We all have things going on, but you should. Oh, thank you. I also have a notary. Yeah, no, I know things are expensive. So let me talk about that. Like, I've always liked to position things as this business is buildable where you're at. So you can start on the bare minimum, and you really can, and you'll be okay. But then you have to look and plan out as you're booking what you can take from those extra commissions to build yourself bigger, do what you can do to make yourself better, but also you still want to make the money for yourself. Like, the point of this is to make yourself more money. So Doing it when it makes sense, doing when you have the time, doing it. And again, like, again, if you have another job, you're working on your own, what time off you have, you also want your own vacation. So know that I can tell you just from our organization, we're looking at that constantly, making sure to meet people where they're at. It's very important. And I never want to say like, oh, you have to buy this or you have to do this. Like even when so I talk about goals and I recommend you go back and watch the goals one, but it's always here. So I always bring it up, but I'm always like, I write in this book every day. I'm not telling you to go buy this book. I want you to the brand, but because there's a cost to it. Why would you can do what I'm doing in a notebook, and I never want people to think they have to spend to do things. Like when I talked about financial planning, I was like, we can do this in an Excel sheet. I would hope for one day for you to get to like a QuickBooks or an accountant, but we can do this in an Excel sheet. So, but anyway, back to the webinar. People will not show because again, let's take this full circle. They have jobs, they're doing things, they have kids. My kids, sports and things, they just take me out of everything. I get it. What I recommend is when you sign up for a webinar or your advisor sign up for the webinar, make sure they watch it later because you signed up for the webinar for a reason. And it doesn't really affect the person who's providing the webinar, whether you show up later, but there's value to be taken from that webinar. And then you can take in little digestible sizes. And I think people think, oh, I don't have the hour to watch that. Actually, a recorded webinar is the best way because you can break it up into time and space and just make sure that you whether it's for yourself or your employees, make sure you stress that because I know so many people don't take advantage of the recording after. Even I get signing up and not showing up, but they don't take it, and that's a real bummer because there's so much that we could take in from these. And of course, live Q&A sessions. More than half the reason I do this live every Thursday. Let's leave it clear. I am 97 years old at heart. I'd love to be with a book and a blanket at 8 o'clock at night on a Thursday. I'm kidding. But what I mean is I could record this during my work day and just pop it up here for you to watch whenever. I see a lot of value in having the chat open because sometimes it's really vocal, sometimes it's not. But when it is, man, there are some questions rolling in there that I know people want answered, and it's so much easier to ask a question behind a keyboard. I know that, and it provides a space again to ask the questions, to feel comfortable to ask the questions. So I leave it up. I make sure the chat's open the whole time, so I see it as it comes through, so I can acknowledge things as they go through. It also just makes it a bit more interesting for you and for me, but really for you and the learner and your advisor. So try to make sure they're doing live sessions so they have that ability to ask those questions. We actually do within our host agency, we have something that we call a live tour that shows you how to use all our systems. And we see, oh, I can't get it out right now. Like statistically is probably the best word for it. Sometimes the person who conducts those live tours is out of town. He's allowed vacations, but when he's out, we see the attendance go down. And sometimes they're like, oh, well, it's not because he's not here. I'm like, no, actually it is. And that's not a bad thing. It's because people want the ability to ask questions. They want, and not that they will, but they want to be able to if they need to. And with him being there, he provides a safe space for them to do that. So another thing is create a resource library for your employees or ICs and even for yourself of where this information is. How I did this when I had an agency, it was just an Excel sheet. This is where I learned about Europe. Here are the suppliers who sell it. Here are the trainings I could find on it. Here's what the different trainings that were available. I had an extensive Excel sheet just for myself. So I knew when I would see something, I'm like, oh, I'd like to go back to that. I'd pop it in the Excel sheet so I didn't have to focus on it in that moment. But when I had the time, I had somewhere to go back to. So whether it's a guide and for them where to start, like, hey, start with these first couple suppliers and then move your way to someone else, or it's a checklist where you actually just say you have to do this, this, and this, and then you go to this, this, and this on this week, and this, whatever makes the most sense is fine. I do feel a guide is really, really helpful, even if it's creating it for yourself in the beginning, so you know where to go to next. But I think it's a great way to know and send them in the right direction too, and set yourself up in the right direction. And then of course, the frequently asked questions. So as you scale your business and you get larger, you're going to have the same questions over and over again. So creating a space where that information can lie and you can find that information is really, really important. So I recommend just starting that document for yourself now, even if you don't have any employees, just so it's a place where that information lies. I keep saying lie. That information sits and then you have it and then you can build from there. Empower your team. So this is a big thing with training for me. I put a celebratory meme or GIF or GIF or whatever I said to every little success we have in the day. I think they think I'm crazy. I know they laugh at me. It's very important to me because even the littlest wins feel so good and they feel empowered. And I always ask my team and I always say, well, what do you think? How would you do this? And that's not a power mover. It's, I actually don't always know. And also, I like hearing the outside opinions. I don't know all the things. So, putting your team in a position where they're trained up and they feel that they can be empowered to have those conversations is going to make everything in your business work better because they're going to have educated conversations with you. You're going to have educated conversations with them. And you're also just going to feel confident in your business dealings inside and out. So whether it's with a supplier, whether it's with your clients, you're just going to feel empowered to do better because you know more. Also, it just, like I said, it elevates the overall client experience because you guys know what you're talking about. You're trusted. You understand. You know the next question to ask when they say, "Oh, what do I do for this?" You know where. Oh, you want to stay at this hotel and do that activity and be there by this time. It just gives a lot of confidence and makes you sound so educated. And that's, we are the experts. You know, if you want to be in the travel industry, you are claiming to be a travel expert. So that requires you taking the steps to be an expert and making sure your advisors are an expert. And then, of course, leads to long-term business success. This slide's a little repetitive, but I just wanted to kind of bring it full circle. Like the success you will see when you set a standard from the beginning and set up training for your advisors from the beginning is you'll know no bounds to it. It's just going to get bigger and better. So just a couple next steps. This one's going to end a little shorter than usual, but it was because the topic was a little lighter, but still important, is one, do some research. So I won't promote any specific organizations per se. Like I mentioned a couple, but I'm not promoting any by any means because I think you do need to see what makes sense for you and how you like to learn, how your advisors like to learn, and that it's the content you want to be learning. So take some time and look and see who offers educational training for travel advisors, whether if your consortia offers any, or if there's any other organizations out there that you could take some training classes from. If you're part of a host agency reviews post a ton of education on there. There's some other companies that also just, I think Insider Travel Report puts different ones on there. I'm not sure. There's different spaces where you can see trainings and things that are available. Get involved in it. Find the Facebook groups. They post them all the time. So make sure you're learning when it makes sense and finding the ones you're most comfortable with and you like learning from and go from there. Check for reputable companies and put this in here because during the pandemic, some really fabulous people came out with some incredible content and are teaching some advisors some really great things. And there's some other people that are out there just saying things. That's the nicest way to put that. So make sure you're going to someone that has reputable like reviews and you know they're putting out good information and they're updating their information frequently because there's nothing wrong with new educators out there, but just make sure they have the right information so you're not giving the wrong information to your advisors or to your clients. And then be open to learning while you're looking for new opportunities. I have found when I looked for training opportunities for whether my staff or myself, I have found out about things that I never thought I was going to be interested in. And then it took me down another path. So don't assume anything when you're kind of looking into different training opportunities for you and your advisors. And you don't hold any grudges because you're like, oh, somebody told me, look into it first. Make sure you know that it makes sense before you turn it off. So just be open as you're going through the process. And let's have fun. Learning is fun. I'm a nerd for learning. This is why I do this. So that's all for today. I wanted to keep this pretty low key in the sense of nothing too heavy to take in because we've had some heavier ones. There's some heavy ones coming up, but I just wanted to focus on the importance of training because that is why I show up here every Thursday to make sure I can train you all, make sure I can help in any way. If you have any questions for me or curious about some of the training companies and learning management systems that I have used and are comfortable with, please feel free to email me. Please feel free to pop that question in the Facebook group. I'd be happy to answer it. There's a lot that I could recommend and I think are great systems. And then there's some that I would not recommend, but I would just say, maybe I'd pass that one. Oh, good. I'm so glad it was helpful. And please, and also if you just have regular travel questions, like I said, I was an advisor myself. I work actively so my agency development role is bringing on new advisors and agencies into our organization, but it's also development of those agencies once they're inside. So making sure people are doing what we're doing right here always. It's really important to me that this industry is successful and stays successful because it's incredibly important And we are so lucky because we get to build experiences for people, and we can do everything from taking people from like their spring break to their wedding to their family vacations with their kids to when they're a grandpa. Like we're really, really lucky to have this opportunity and to spread that kind of joy. And so I want to make sure this business and this industry sticks around forever. So that's all I have today. I will stay on for any questions for a little bit. If you don't have any questions, feel free to hop off. Also, feel free to share this with your friends that are in the travel industry. Let them know you were here. Let them know that you learned, that they can join as well. Send them to the Facebook group, whatever makes the most sense. But I really enjoy showing up here every Thursday. I'm sorry I was a little. For those of you that is the first time here, this is actually low energy me. But I will be back to my high energy self next Thursday. I think the topic is marketing. Maybe question mark. I don't know. I gotta look. But I'm gonna pop this screen off really quick and stop sharing the screen. Just if you've got the guys, have I not been sharing my screen the whole time? No, I have. Okay. I thought I wasn't. My goodness. I had a moment there. Did I have to finish all my trainings with them? No, I don't think so. So that's a great question, Angelique. So if anyone's still on, I wanted to hear this. She asked if you have to finish all of her training courses before promoting travel. No. What I would say is before you start promoting, or before you start promoting, kind of self-evaluate yourself and see what you're most confident in to sell and what you're comfortable selling in the moment, and then start to promote that. Because you can, I'll be honest with you. So when I started, I had never left the country, but I had done quite a bit throughout the United States, and I knew Disney pretty well. Didn't want to really sell Disney, I'll be honest. It was fine selling it, but didn't want to sell it. But I knew enough to get me through. So what I did when I was promoting, see, there you go. So when I would promote Disney to perk interest, to let people know I was selling travel, I would also promote like the simpler of vacations. So I would post like maybe an ocean cruise. I would like a Royal Caribbean or a destination that I felt comfortable selling. But what I would say to you is learn the easier things first. So learn a brand in a specific destination first. Whether that's, a great one to learn that has a great trading course is Hyatt All Inclusive. So they have all their brands in there. You can learn all about it, and they're kind of all over the Caribbean and Mexico. So you can feel comfortable selling that product. And then you can learn adjacent products from there. A lot of people start with sandals first, and sandals is a great product line. A lot of room categories, though, a lot of things going on with it. So, sometimes it can be overwhelming. But if you're comfortable with Disney, you can probably be comfortable with sandals. That's why a lot of people transition that way, because it's very similar in that manner. But find something, know that, and then promote that, and take those slow steps. So, if you take Royal Caribbean and you only push Royal Caribbean to start, and then just push sandals, and then just push, and then you're starting to blend what you're putting out there because you've done a couple different ones, but take it slow. Don't not promote yourself, because it's going to take a minute to gain that initiative from people to like come in, and for them to realize. I cannot tell you, like I said, I'm going on year 14. I still to this day have people go, "You book travel, right?" I'm like, "What do you think I do all day?" And I talk about all the time. They see me going places, they see me booking people. So, I had a coworker that used to say to me, "You have to tell her 3 times and say, or tell me 3 times and say it slowly." And I took that to heart. And I'm like, you're right, because some people, we have so much going on, like they just don't remember. So, I think it's really important to keep putting yourself out there. And even if you're not necessarily promoting a specific travel, it's promoting who you are. Do you know I sell curated vacations? Be vague, you know? And then they're like, "Oh, I did not know that." And put like a an ominous travel photo behind you. It doesn't have to be a specific destination, and just like perking interest. We are so dopamine fixed as a society. If they see a photo they like, then that's when they're going to want to call you, so just think of those things. Um, I hope that helped. But that's, that's how I started and it worked well for me. And then as I learned more, I branched out more and but it's a lot. There's so much to learn. There's so much. And then you're not gonna learn it. I'll be honest with you. I'm a wedding officiant and would love, oh, that'd be a fabulous thing to add to your services. That is a really cool thing to, when I started, again, because I said I was storefront based, I would team up with like bridal shops and things that were relative to travel to get my card out there. So they would refer me and I would refer them. So because you're already in that industry, you probably know a lot of people. So it's a great way for referrals and things like that. So absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, if there's not any more questions, thank you all so much. No, thank you, Angelique. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for your time. Thanks for spending your Thursday night with me. It's 8 o'clock, so I'm gonna let everybody go. Go enjoy your dinners if you're a late night dinner eater like me, or your TV, or whatever it is you go to, your book. And you will see a much more high energy Laura next Thursday. But I thank you all so much, and we'll talk soon.